Okay.
Right, lovely. Well, it's really lovely to get this opportunity to speak to you all. And I'm sure you all recognise the picture behind me, don't you? That's Coventry Council House, which I just put on as a backdrop a while ago, and I've just left it there. Anyway, I want to tell you about a charity that it was my privilege to help set up. And the charity was founded in the year 2002, and it goes back really to the year 2000 or just before. I'd just become a Baptist minister, and I was down in a place called Milford in Surrey, not far from Guildford. And as a new minister, I was keen to get to know the congregation, and I was doing pastoral visits, which is the kind of thing that we do. And they said, "Oh, we'd like you to visit Charlie and Sharon, Mr. and Mrs. Watt." I said, "Fine, just give me the address." Well, the address was in Zambia. So that, okay, fair enough. I can visit them in Zambia. And they were a young couple who felt they wanted to do something different in the world, and in particular in Africa, and were looking for a project to be involved with. So I travelled out to Zambia, and they were based in a town in Zambia called Ndola, in the kind of north section of Zambia. And we spent quite a few days being very earnest and prayerful and spiritual, trying to look at lots of different projects and seeking divine guidance about which project Charlie and Sharon should be involved with. So we visited, maybe 8 or 9 or 10 different projects, which was very interesting for me, but none of them seemed to be what they were looking for. And so towards the end of my visit, it looked like we were drawing a blank, and the visit had been a waste of time. Anyway, I spent some time in reflection and prayer, and I was writing in my personal journal, something I've often journaled, just a way of processing my thoughts and prayers. And as I was writing in the journal, I just came to the conclusion that the thing they were looking for, the ministry they wanted to be involved with, the service they wanted to give, well, the project didn't actually exist. And if it didn't exist, well, maybe we should make it exist. And God, as it were, was calling it into being through us, and particularly through Charlie and Sharon. Well, what they wanted to do was set up a training college for motor mechanics. Now, many projects in Africa, many really brilliant, good projects, focus upon babies or children or orphans. And obviously, it's more than appropriate to support charities of that nature. But one of the things that made this different was it was aimed at young people, people in their early 20s or possibly late teens, people who wanted to get a career going, people who wanted a vocational education, so they could support their families and make a difference in the world. Charlie was himself an experienced mechanic, and Sharon was experienced in administration and a little bit in education as well. And this was the vision that they had, but we didn't really have anything at that point apart from the vision. No land, no money. We just had the concept, the idea. Well, I was fortunate enough to be part of a relatively well-off Baptist church. Not many Baptist churches have wealthy people in them, but we had a couple of wealthier people in my church in southwest Surrey, which is, after all, stockbroker belt. So it was really lovely to share the vision that we had with the church back in Surrey, and very quickly to find that people were really enthusiastic. They thought this could be an absolutely brilliant thing to be involved with. And fairly early on, Charlie rang me up and he said, "Oh, I found some land. I've put in an offer." And I'm thinking, we haven't got any money yet. So we dug around with a couple of these wealthier people, and we dug into our pockets as a church and found we could manage to buy some land. So we bought some land, and then we began to look for a team in the UK to oversee the project, and we formed a charity called Mechanics for Africa. We were very blessed in that we had retired business people, retired educators who'd all been successful in their field, and we even had a working architect. And these and other people were very willing to come on board and help us get a feel for what this project might be like. So I think formally the college was founded in 2002. I don't think buildings went up till a year or two later than that. Yeah, before the buildings went up, we kind of clarified the values of the project. And I think it'd be fair to say there were three things which are absolutely key for us. The first was a good quality of learning. So we didn't want it to be a kind of, a half-baked thing. We wanted it to be top-notch education we were giving. And so we teamed up with City and Guilds in the UK, and they continue to provide the exams that we put our students through. And they've done that from the beginning. So they get City and Guilds motor mechanics qualification, and also a local qualification, which is recognised throughout Zambia, a mechanics certificate. And we're proud to say that our pass rate, as we've gone on with our quality learning, has been typically over 90%. So that's been really, really brilliant. That was our first value, quality learning. The second one was integrity. And I don't wish to cast aspersions about Africa or make general observations, but we did feel that there was people who were wanting to get their cars repaired in Zambia were often very uncertain about the quality of those repairs. Would they be given fake parts that had been imported in a grey economy? Would timesheets be filled out honestly? Would faults that weren't really there be suggested? So we decided that right from the beginning of the education process in Mechanics for Africa, integrity would be drilled in as a core value. Many of our students are Christians. Zambian is a largely Christian nation. I think 70% of the population count themselves as Christians. And so it's been appropriate for us to employ a pastor. And it's he at the moment. It was a he when we started. I don't know whether we've ever had a woman pastor. And the pastor doesn't give a heavy religious input, but guides the students in spiritual development. And that also helps them to find a basis for the integrity, which is absolutely key to our work. So quality learning, integrity. And then the third value is broad life skills. So we don't just teach motor mechanics in isolation, but we recognise that these people are going to have to give leadership and guidance in their general lives. So our course includes things like hygiene, sexual health, business skills, leadership qualities, even agriculture, because it's quite a rural economy as well. So all of those things have continued to be key parts of our project, Mechanics for Africa, there in Zambia. We quickly established a local staff team, and we've got some local oversight of the staff team as well. Perhaps a little bit more about that later. Where does all the money continue to come from? Well, fairly early on with Mechanics for Africa, we realised that there could be a self-funding side to this. So we opened up a commercial wing. So local people who want to have their cars repaired can take them to Mechanics for Africa, and either experienced staff members or supervised senior students work on their vehicles. And I'm delighted to say that the commercial wing continues to have a very high, a very strong reputation, to the extent that we are the preferred supplier of servicing to several commercial firms to work on their trucks and the like. So that's been a real success. And so, of course, that then brings in finance for the rest of the project, which is great. We also are self-sufficient in terms of food for a lot of the year, because we've actually got quite a big site. and we grow food on site with the help of our grounds manager, Desmond. We do get some money from the people who join the course. They need a local sponsor to provide a little bit of support for them. And that's really so that the student has a buy-in, they've made a commitment, and they're more likely to value the course because of that. Well, we also have UK donors. Some donors are able, they're in a position where they can actually sponsor the full cost of a student's year, but that's quite expensive. That amounts to something like 40 or 50 pounds a month. So most people will give maybe £5 or £10 a month towards the sponsorship of an individual student from the UK. We also have business sponsorship from the Eden Motor Group, who are based in the southeast. Haynes Manuals very kindly donate manuals to us, which is great. And if you've heard of Tools with a Mission, Tools with a Mission, who refurbish tools in the UK, very kindly provide a personal toolkit for every graduate from Mechanics for Africa. I think our year group is around about 45 or 50 people at the moment, and it's a 2-year course. And obviously, in the end, it's not just about mechanics, it's about life and transforming lives. The staff members say when students arrive, they come seem pretty blank and don't know a great deal about anything. But by the end of the 2-year course, because of our high success rate and positive reputation, around 80% find work. And when they find work in Zambia, as you could well imagine, they're then supporting many, many more family members. So it's not just one person who gets an income. Because of the family structures in Zambia, that income is shared and supports many, many other people. There's a staff team now of as many as 24 people, and they're like a family. Some of them provide security, some cook the dinner, some are lecturers, some are administrators. And I'm delighted to say that the chief executive officer is now a lady called Guanire Colombe, who's a Zambian. And she has studied and worked in the UK, and obviously has now returned to Zambia. And that really felt providential when she came along to replace our previous local leadership. She's only been in post for the best part of a year now. We've got a trustees body with some trustees in the UK, but we're giving more and more of the power to local Zambian trustees, which has always been our long-term aim. Our patron from the beginning was the local MP at the time that Mechanics for Africa was established in South West Surrey, who happens to be the Right Honourable Virginia Bottomley. And she very kindly continues to give us a little bit of official, clout in one or two circumstances. And I think she herself has visited the project. I've been to the project, I think 3 or 4 different times, visiting staff members and visiting students and encouraging them in their work. It's been my privilege to speak at graduation ceremonies, and those graduation ceremonies are something else. They're not stuffy affairs like they are at UK institutions. There's whooping and hollering and singing and dancing and effervescent joy as the students celebrate everything that they've achieved. To finish my input, and then I'm open to any questions, I wanted to just tell one personal story. And this is a story about a man called Faxon Sememba, and I think it's a lovely story. Faxon grew up in a poor district of Ndola called the Chifubu Township. His parents are actually still alive, but they're very elderly and they're not working at the moment, and they're supported by their various children. Faxon had been working as a casual labourer to bring in just whatever money he could to support his wife, his 3 children, his parents, but the future didn't look too rosy. So back in 2014, he applied to MFA. Well, in the interview, he really shone. He obviously had some good personal skills, but he did poorly on his entrance exam, only just making the mark he needed to be invited for interview. But during his first year, it became obvious that he was gifted with practical engineering. He could do it with his hands, but he wasn't so good academically, and he was struggling. And the college remember that one day he saw a college lecturer struggling to wipe a board clean, a blackboard clean. And Faxon apparently spent his evening making a board rubber out of scrap materials as a gift to the college. So it was clear that he wasn't academically gifted, but he kept up with his peers by simply working hard every hour he could. And when other students would leave for the day, Faxon would stay on into the evening to study in the college library, then cycling 8 miles home in the dark, getting up early the next morning to ensure he was first at college. During his second year, Faxon was informally assessed at college and thought to have dyslexia and probably dyspraxia too. It was discovered that he was a natural left-hander who'd been beaten by a teacher and forced to write right-handed because the teacher thought left-handedness was evidence of witchcraft. The college arranged for Zambia's mining company, FQM, it's their biggest mining company, to sponsor an assessment with an educational psychologist. She produced a report that confirmed that Faxon had a broad range of educational challenges. In 2017, MFA applied to city and guilds for special educational measures for Faxon, and they were granted. In December of that year, he sat his exams with additional time allowance and passed with merits. The first time in his life he had ever, in his own words, been anything other than a poor average. At his graduation, he accepted his diploma with tears in his eyes, and he now works as a heavy equipment mechanic at that mining company that sponsored his educational assessment. One weekend every month, he travels 8 hours back to Ndola to bring his pay packet home to his wife and children. It's not an easy life. And he calls into the college to see his former teachers, now friends, and thank them for changing his life, as he puts it. Even now, having moved back to the UK, Jackson gets the occasional text message from, Jason, a UK former sponsor, gets the occasional message from Faxon thanking MFA for how they helped him to turn his life round. The ethos of MFA is, in quotes, to give a hand up, not a hand out. Faxon always worked hard, but was stuck in a pattern of doing casual labour that was not getting him anywhere. When his elder brother graduated from MFA in 2014 and got his first job, Faxon asked him for help with the fees, and that set him on the road to success. Well, that's my 16 or 17 minutes, so I think I better pause there and see whether you've got any reflections or questions.
Has anybody got any questions for David? Unmute yourselves.
Well, I would like to have a question, but I haven't. Absolutely fascinating talk and everything that has happened since the beginning. Quite remarkable.
Thank you, Judith. Yes, I feel privileged to have had a small part, a big part at the beginning, to continue interested in the project since then. Yeah, thank you.
And is this project still supported at Hersal Baptist Church now?
Only by 1 or 2 individuals at the moment. Mm-hmm. I would like it if the church kind of supported it in its own right.
Mm-hmm. It's certainly a fantastic project.
Yeah. Thank you.
I would just like to say that I love the ethos behind the college, because having lived in Uganda for a few years, when we used to joke that lug nuts for the tires were a scarce commodity, because you'd go in with all 4 tires having their appropriate number of lug nuts on each tire. And then you'd find when you had your car repaired or anything, you suddenly were missing 1 or 2 off of each tire. And so you started thinking there must be a great mound somewhere of these excess lug nuts. But no, I think, so I rather smiled to myself when you talk about integrity. I thought we could use one of those colleges maybe in Uganda.
Well, it is interesting because I wanted to call it mechanics for Zambia, but a friend of mine who's thought big said, no, let's call it mechanics for Africa.
Mm.
But we've never rolled out and reproduced the model. Maybe we should have had more ambition. Maybe we should now have more ambition.
I like the way that we're not just teaching mechanics as well, but because of your objective, your overall aims, you were actually teaching broader life skills and transferable skills as well, because that's really helpful, isn't it? And affecting the culture in the community. I thought that was really
well, absolutely, because of course it's a different world. I remember when my late wife was there, she visited the project and she was thinking for a while, oh, it's very like being a pastor's wife. She was saying with a pastor's wife, it's very like being a pastor's wife in the UK. And then a pig ran into the kitchen. There's a different world.
Right. Anybody else got any more questions? Well, thank you very much indeed, David. I mean, I'd not heard of this at all, so it's been really enlightening, to hear about this and all the work that's gone into it. Really enjoyed your talk. So thank you very much indeed for coming to speak to us today.
Thank you very much, and it's lovely to see some of the faces of the inner wheel. Yeah, lovely to. Thank you for your interest. If you'd like to know more, just search for Mechanics for Africa, and you'll find us online.
Thank you very much, David.
All right. Have a lovely day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.